Hello, I'm Vinny. Do you want to see one of the smallest workshops on YouTube? Let's go take a look at my space. This is our guest bedroom slash office slash my workshop. Tripod, studio light, other studio light. There's my workbench tool cabinet and most of my tools. And I basically have this much space to work in. That's a bookcase, mostly science books and some science supplies and things. There's a hand plane I bought at a flea market and cleaned up. That bookcase my wife made in high school. I store most of my wood there, longer pieces up top, smaller pieces and offcuts down in that box. Over here is my desk and computer setup. But the most interesting thing is probably the workbench and tools. So let's go take a closer look at those. So here are some of the bigger tools I have on top of the workbench at the moment. Generally, they're down on the floor, and then as I need them, I bring them up top here. This is my homemade drill-powered lathe setup that I use kind of as a lathe. Also, as you can see here now, I have a sanding disc on it. And then I have all these kind of jigs that I make for it for various projects, for whatever I'm happen to be using it for. I can also put on a grinding stone and have a little grinder, and it's powered, or it's not powered. I control the speed with this dimmer switch based speed controller. That I have a video on that. I have a video on how I built this, and this is just powered by a cheap $10 Harbor Freight drill, but it seems to work. We have my router table fence up here. Video on how I built this as well. Push sticks. This is my drill press I got not too long ago. It's a 9-inch drill press from Harbor Freight. It was cheap, $50, $60, but I get a lot of use out of this thing. I really like it. It's not the nicest thing in the world, but it's light. So I can move it on and off of this quite easily. It works pretty well. I can use drill bits up to about 2 inches, and then it starts having some issues. I've used larger bits before, but the main problem is that you just can't slow it down that much. The slowest speed is 760 RPM, which isn't ideal for big bits, but I kind of like it because it only has one belt, which gives you fewer options on speed, but it's a lot easier to change the speed. It's not the nicest thing in the world, but I feel like a drill press is one of those tools where a cheap, lower quality tool is better than no tool at all. That's not the case for all tools, but for this drill press, I think that holds, and I really like it. Up next is this guy, 10-inch Craftsman bandsaw. I love this thing. I got it used. It needed some work to clean up and whatnot, but it runs well. I love this thing. When I was looking for a bandsaw, I was considering the little 9-inch ones that you can get at Home Depot and Lowe's and those kind of places. 9-inch versus 10-inch, it doesn't seem like a big difference, but this machine I think is a lot better than those little 9-inch varieties. Those 9-inch bandsaws, they have a lot of plastic on them, and they don't look like you could get a lot done with them. But this 10-inch guy, I can get a lot done with it. I really like it. It's a little heavy. I can just barely get it on and off this tabletop. Hopefully one day I'll have enough space that I can just have this permanently mounted on a stand and not have to lift it on and off. So the top of this tool cabinet, I just have a piece of plywood that I cut to shape and size. It's, I don't know what that is, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. And I sanded it and just put on a couple layers of shellac. When the top gets gross, I can just sand it back down, reapply shellac, and when it gets really bad, I can just replace this if I ever wanted to. So on the worktop here, you might notice some holes in some various spots, And in those holes, there are these threaded inserts so that I can put some bolts in some strategic spots, and that allows me to hold down some tools or some work pieces. The homemade drill powered lathe has some holes in it so I can secure it down to the top. Some of my other tools do as well, and I'll point those out when we get to them. On one side of the cabinet hanging here are my bigger clamps, and that's so that they're easier to get to and because they just don't fit inside the cabinet. And they're hanging on these magnetic hooks, quite handy. Also, I have a little tape measurer that I put a magnet on the back of so that it just can stick to the side of the cabinet and it's easy to get to. I use that all the time. On the other side of the cabinet, I have my shop vac, and I usually like to keep a little plastic bag that I just have a magnet stuck through the handle so that it sticks to the side of the workbench and it's easy to get to. So the workbench cabinet is on casters, so I can move this around the room, which is quite convenient. Now, let's take a look at what's inside. So over on this door, I have those screws that I use to secure things to the top, and then just a little magnet so that they just stick right there. Bags of various things that, again, just have a little magnet that sticks those to the side. 2 shelves, and they're not really organized anyway, except that just whatever will fit. Since this is where most of my tools live, it's pretty cramped. Sandpaper and things over on this side. In the middle, got a couple miter saws, just one of these cheap boxes, these are actually pretty convenient just to grab this and put it up top here and quickly cut something. Not super precise, but it's quick. If I'm cutting something bigger or I want a more precise cut, I use this miter saw, which I'm sure you've seen in my videos a lot. This is made by Jorgensen. It's a number 64005. I really like this little guy. And this has holes in the base, and so I can secure that with those screws to the top of the workbench. Otherwise, it would just move around all over the place and be a complete pain in the butt. I have some router bits. These are roundover bits. Some Forstner bits. So Ryobis. They're not the best quality, but you know, they're okay. I have this guy for a cordless drill. You know, little drill press thing. Not very useful. I have used it before for special situations, but especially since getting the drill press, this thing I don't use much. Little mini hacksaw, some hacksaw blades, hacksaw, coping saw, my wife's machete. We actually cut our wedding cake with a machete, not this one. This one's all rusted, but. In this bag, I have tools and supplies for building fishing rods, which I've done a few of. Down here is where I keep more of the power tools. We have a Dremel 3000. I don't really like these molded plastic cases for tools. You can't really reuse them for any other purpose, and the tools never really stick in them very well, but I just got this until I find a better case. I'm just using that. My little Dremel Stylus, little cordless Dremel that I used quite a bit, but the battery's dying. Wood burning tool that I just got that I used in the ukulele video, and I plan to use this more in the future. This is my vise. This is the only vise I have. It's one of these little types that you can clamp onto a tabletop or whatever. My bench, the top doesn't overhang anywhere, which is kind of annoying. I should probably rebuild this so that I have some overhang to clamp things to. I just haven't done it. But I just attach this to a piece of wood, and then there are holes here where I can screw it down to the top. I wish I had a bigger vise, but this is all I got for now. Rockwell A little mini circular saw. I've heard very good things about these. I just got it. I haven't used it yet, but I'm excited to use it. Cheap $10 Harbor Freight heat gun. Worth every penny. This thing is quite handy and it works well. It's my Craftsman all-in-one cutting tool with a router base on it. I use this as my router. It came with a whole bunch of other attachments that I store those somewhere else. This thing is okay, but it's what I have, so it's what I use. Another clamp. My drill and my driver. I love these things. These are like 20 volt brushless motor, lithium ion batteries. They're awesome. These are the first brushless motor, cordless tools I've had, and oh, they're awesome. I'd be hard pressed to buy another cordless drill or impact driver again that wasn't brushless. They're great tools. These are DeWalt's. I'm sure the other similar brands are just as good. I don't know. I really like these though. The impact driver, before I got this, I thought these things were, quite frankly, were stupid. Like, why would you ever need this? You could just drive screws with your drill, and the drill, is much better at drilling holes. Why would I ever need this? But I saw a video by Steve Ramsey. He talked about impact drivers. He kind of started to change my mind, and then when I actually got this thing, oh my gosh, it pretty much changed my life. That might be overstated a little bit, but this thing is so awesome. I use it all the time. It is very useful. If you don't own one, get one. If I had to choose between a cordless drill and a impact driver, I would pick the impact driver just about every time. These belt clamps, these are super long. Don't need them that long, but they're cheap. I think these were Harbor Freight. I don't know. Actually, these were a gift. Very useful though for gluing up picture frames and boxes and things like that. Keep an extension cord down here. Various drill bits are kept in the bag for the driver and drill. Got some hand saws. These are Stanley Sharp Tooth, which work pretty well. Dusk mask. In this bag, I have a little hand sander. This is a Black & Decker Mouser. Seems to work pretty well. I don't have a random orbit sander. That's essentially what this is. It's just, instead of being round, it's got this little point so you can kind of get into corners. It works for me. I also have all the sanding discs and whatnot for that in here. Some cheap spade bit drill bits. A hole cutting drill bit thing. This is one that has like multiple sizes, and you can undo this and pick your size. This is kind of a piece of junk, to be honest, but it does work. I've used it a number of times. Other random drill bits are kind of keeping this soft case, my bigger Forstner bits. Grinding stone for that homemade drill power lathe so I can grind things. Propane torch kit. Use this every once in a while, but it's still used back here. Sledgehammer. Don't use this a whole lot. It's too big to fit in my toolbox, so it just lives in here. Caulk gun. Another clamp. Electric staple gun. This comes in handy every once in a while. It'll also do little brad nails, but its capability is only like 5/8 inch brad nails, which isn't super useful, so I use it every once in a while. But that's about it for in here, the main power tools and whatnot. Let me clean this up, and then let's go take a look out in the hallway. There's a little cabinet where I do store some other tools. Oh, I almost forgot. Underneath here is where I store my router table. I have a video about how I made this, but it folds up flat so that it will fit under here, and it's out of the way when I'm not using it. So now let's go check out the hallway. So out here in the hallway we have this cabinet situation, and I have some tools and stuff in here. In this one, oh, some old photography equipment. And here we got, well, up top, some skulls and bones. Those are mostly my wife's. Down here, some various photography equipment, some block printing supplies, some paint and stuff. In the other tall tower, I store some electronic stuff, some components and things, brand new Raspberry Pi, need to come up with a project for, some bike stuff, some fishing stuff. But over in the center here is where I store some more tools. So let's take a look at that. All right, in this cabinet, the top shelf, I got a lot of safety equipment, eye protection. I actually got this when I was working as a maintenance man at an office park for a couple summers in college. One of the tenants made computers, and I don't know, he gave me these. Empty containers, tape that tries to kill me, paper cutter. On the second shelf, we've got socket sets, drywall saw, cheap Harbor Freight light. This is actually a tackle box with fishing lures in it. This is my old toolbox. In it is kind of all the attachments for that Craftsman all-in-one tool. I don't really use these anymore. Down on the bottom shelf, I have some work gloves, old bandsaw blade, all my nuts and bolts and things, just keep in a big plastic bag. Not ideal, but saves space. Some more nuts and bolts and things. This is my main toolbox. On the top, I have big things. Mallet, hammer, measuring devices, big tape measure, but I like the little one better. And then ratchets and T-squares and all the big stuff that won't fit in any of the smaller drawers. And then the drawers, I have them organized. The top one are like screwdrivers and like Allen wrenches, things like that. Small screwdrivers I keep in there. Second drawer are all the wrenches and pliers and things. Channel lock pliers, I love these things. Vice grips, various pliers and wire cutters. In the bottom drawer are all the cutting tools, including chisels, scissors, bolt cutters, this little flush cut saw. I like this thing, I use that quite a bit. X-Acto knife and extra blades, some files, that kind of thing. So that's my workshop. A little sneak peek behind the scenes at Makeify. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to keep up to date with my newest videos. Thanks for watching. Shop dog, cone of shame.